A new Republican proposal for a national abortion ban at 15 weeks is making an immediate impact on some close congressional races in Colorado. Democrats in Colorado put abortion rights into our state law before Roe v. Wade fell. The Republican abortion ban would override Colorado state law protecting abortion rights. Republican Senator Lindsey Graham is proposing this national ban on abortions after 15 weeks. It's the most significant national proposal since the Supreme Court overturned the constitutional right to an abortion. The bill is not going to pass in a Democrat-controlled Senate. Things could change if Republicans win back the Senate in the midterms. In the case of Barb Kirkmeyer, the Republican running in the closely contested 8th Congressional District in Adams and Weld County, she told us today she would not take a position on the abortion ban proposed by Graham. She's a staunch opponent of abortion, even in the cases of rape and incest. She recently scrubbed that stance off her campaign website. Eric Odland's the Republican running in the competitive 7th Congressional District, which includes Jefferson and Park counties. He said he does not support a national abortion ban. Odland supports individual states banning abortion if they choose. Colorado's Senate race, where Republican candidate Joe O'Dea supports abortion rights until 20 weeks, highlights what's at stake with control of the Senate. O'Dea's campaign says he would not support Graham's 15-week abortion ban. O'Dea recently told Next he'll vote in the Senate to codify Roe. But he seemed confused when we pointed out that if he wins and Republicans control the Senate, there will never be such a vote. The latest case of law enforcement telling the public one story until the actual situation is known involves a 22-year-old named Christian Glass. He was in the middle of a mental health crisis when a Clear Creek County deputy shot and killed him earlier this summer. We didn't know what really happened until his family got a hold of officers' body-worn camera video. Here's Steve Stager.
4 hours after Christian Glass lay dead on a street in Silver Plume, the Sheriff's Department released this one page detailing what happened that night. 8 paragraphs that seem to tell a different story than the video does. After deputies responded to a car crash, the release says the driver, quote, immediately became argumentative.
How about you step out of the vehicle?
Christian Glass doesn't really argue, other than insist he'd rather stay in the car. The release claimed that he'd armed himself with a knife. The video shows he offered to throw his rock hunting knives out, but deputies told him not to.
Because you already said you have weapons in the car.
Okay,
No, do not throw them out. Do not touch them. Do not reach for them. I want you out of the vehicle now.
The release says officers tried to bring the situation to a peaceful solution. The fact is, it was relatively peaceful for nearly 70 minutes until the piece that's missing from this press release, when deputies decide to smash open Christian's window,
Force nature.
which freaks him out. He grabs a geology knife. They shoot him with beanbag rounds, tase him, and finally, when he motions toward a nearby officer, the deputy shoots him 5 times.
It didn't make sense to us because our son didn't carry weapons. They were rock tools, and he's never ever hurt anyone.
Those 8 paragraphs.
They put out a false report to the media, and no one even bothered to check for accuracy or for truthfulness.
They were all this family knew for weeks before video revealed the truth.
We recently found out that it was false in almost every respect. Still, it did the job. It cast a pall over the funeral, a grotesque act of cruelty.
Among the list of questions we sent to the Clear Creek County Sheriff about this video was, why was so much missing from this press release? We haven't gotten an answer to that question. Just before I came on the air tonight, the Clear Creek County Sheriff's Office responded to one of my other questions, is the deputy who shot Christian back on the street? I got a one-word reply, yes.
Yes. This raises a lot of questions because there are situations where there's understandable kind of fog of confusion around split-second events that then end up getting misrepresented, perhaps not on purpose, by law enforcement in the media. Then there's situations like this, where this was a relatively controlled situation for a long time that escalated, and the statement that we got was not true from the jump.
I mean, it doesn't match. When you see he was argumentative right away, one of the first things he says to officers is, I'm really scared right now. And when they say he armed himself immediately with a knife, he offered to throw those knives out. The officer told him not to right away. You think about all of these situations, and we report on a lot of these stories. It's a good reminder for us that we need to ask some serious questions and verify what we don't know independently.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes we take the word.
You've talked to law enforcement experts about this, best practices, because they encounter situations like this all the time.
Sure.
People dealing with either a mental health crisis or impairment, and they have to try and get everybody out safe. What's a best practice versus what we saw that ended up with somebody dead?
So sometimes you have the resources, right? You've got people who are trained in handling a situation like this, talking to someone who's in a mental health crisis. Then you can work with them. In a situation where you don't have those resources on the scene, the national best practice is to just walk away. And in this case, everyone I've showed it to has said, I don't understand why, if they couldn't talk him out of a situation like this, they didn't just say, hey, buddy, here's a phone number for a tow truck.
Yeah.
And like,
have a good night.
Luck to you.
You're not going to hurt anybody. Have a good night.
Yeah.
Man, now he's dead. All right, Steve, thank you. New polling finds 8 in 10 Coloradans think that housing affordability and rent costs are a big problem in Colorado. Oh, come November, you'll get to vote on a proposed solution. Voters will decide whether to divert money out of the state's general fund to an affordable housing fund. Group Make Colorado Affordable says this measure would create 170,000 affordable homes and rentals. The poll, which is by the African American Research Collaborative on behalf of the Colorado ACLU, found 77% of those polled supported that measure. 77%. Also found that inflation was the top issue for voters in Colorado. Inflation, followed by the economy, mass shootings, and gun violence. The poll found 84% of those surveyed said that homelessness is a crisis or a major issue in our state. Leaders around the Denver area have struggled with what to do to combat homelessness. A few such leaders are headed down to Houston tomorrow to look at their ideas. They want to figure out what's working in that city. Houston's found affordable housing for 25,000 people over the last decade. The leaders in Houston say they're not done. They've got more work to do. They've invested $100 million to help people find permanent housing. Aurora Mayor Mike Kaufman is among those going to Houston tomorrow. Earlier this year, he supported and helped pass an urban camping ban in Aurora, like Denver's. He'll be joined by 2 council members from Aurora, 2 from Denver, Commissioner from Adams and Arapahoe counties. So you're going to have this November ballot before you know it, obviously before November. Secretary of State's office today certified that ballot, meaning they finalized the names that you're going to see in the U.S. Senate race, governor's race, statewide races, state legislative races, and they finalized the wording of 11 ballot initiatives on things like alcohol in grocery stores, use of psilocybin mushrooms, food for public school students, and reducing the state income tax. So I want to give you the timeline for the next 2 months or so. Ballots will get mailed starting October 17th. As soon as you have it, you can mail it back or drop it off as soon as you're done with it. November 1st is the last suggested day to mail back your ballot. After that, you got to drop it off. Ballots are due by 7 p.m. on Election Day, November 8th. A deal in Boulder County would give residents more open space at the cost of allowing a cement plant to continue mining operations for an extra decade. Arcade Eastman explains this trade-off that'll be in the hands of county commissioners tomorrow.
So this right here is my backyard. This is our hayfield.
When Sarah Lorang moved.
And so this southern fence line is actually the fence we share with Cemex.
She knew exactly who the Environmental Protection Agency said her neighbors were.
I mean, they're the biggest polluter in Boulder County. They emit over 357,000 tons of carbon a year. They make up almost 7% of the entire county's emissions.
But the family of 4 moved here last year anyway, knowing the cement plant's mining permit with Boulder County expires at the end of September.
We knew enough. Again, we did very extensive due diligence, and we knew that with the expiration of the mine, we know that there are a lot of implications to the plant, both legal and financial, and we knew that the plant wouldn't be able to survive once the mine is closed.
Sarah would not have moved here had she known the mining operation in the quarry across Highway 66 could be extended for another 15 years.
I'd love to get the information out there that our department has not taken a position on this.
But Janice Wiseman with Boulder County Parks and Open Space did negotiate an agreement with Cemex. In exchange for hundreds of acres of open space for free, the company would be able to mine here until 2037. After that, they said they would demolish the cement plant.
We, as county representatives, wanted to focus on closure of the plant because we knew that was important to the public. So we focused on that, and the 15-year time frame was the smallest time frame that Cemex would agree to.
Wiseman's job is to buy more open space. She says it's not her job to decide if this is right or wrong, or to involve other parties in these proposals.
If I were to sell you my house, I don't think I'd want my neighbor involved in the negotiation about the price for my house.
So that's the same kind of negotiation that we're doing. We're just doing it for open space.
So thank you for being here today.
The mayor of Lyons believes this particular open space agreement is different.
And the county commissioners should deny this application and reopen negotiations with the town of Lyons at the table.
I think this is the epitome of thinking globally and acting locally.
Sarah says the impact of this decision goes beyond her home, and she hopes others pay attention.
Closing this plant down is the equivalent of 30,000 lifetimes of carbon that someone would put out.
For Next, I'm Katie Eastman.
There will be a public hearing on that proposal tomorrow. County commissioners could vote on the agreement. We reached out to CEMEX this morning and have not yet heard back. Your latest Word of Thanks microgiving campaign is really one of your most amazing efforts in a long time. $93,000 raised in a couple of days for the animal rescue of the Rockies. This comes at such a crucial time when you have animal shelters up and down the Front Range overflowing with surrendered dogs and cats. That nonprofit tells us they have never seen anything like your generosity. Your microgiving campaigns have now raised $9.5 million for nonprofits across Colorado. If you have an idea of a great nonprofit in our community that could use our help next, email me at next@9news.com. I read each and every one. Be back tomorrow night with another way that we can help our neighbors.
The county commissioner who wanted to ban Pride Fest from their property is backing down. Denver has a lot of parks. A cyclist wanted to see them all. He shares his travels from the trails. And our favorite one-liner now has its own merch.
What the hell, Jim?
A Next viewer gets a new hat that even Jim will love. Next.
Leaders in Douglas County will not be kicking Pride Fest off fairground property. Instead, they're just asking that a couple of performers don't come back. During a drag show at last month's Pride Fest at the Dougco Fairgrounds, a performer's outfit slipped, revealing a plastic chest plate. There's a lot of people upset about that. Republican Commissioner George Teal came out and said he had the votes to ban Pride Fest from coming back. He did not. Pride Fest organizers apologized, and now the Douglas County Commissioners say they've worked with Castle Rock Pride to make sure that any future events will be family-friendly. Organizers say the two performers involved in that act will not be invited back. They cited multiple reasons. Communities across the country, including some in Colorado, are doing a rare public test of the wireless emergency alert system. That's the system that's used to warn people on their cell phones if there's something urgent happening. Emergency managers hope it'll give them a better idea of who's getting the alerts and the accuracy of the geo-targeting. They're testing it in mountain areas where cell service is limited. So Summit County yesterday, Jeffco and Pickens counties today. They want to know what areas those WIA alerts will reach before they have to use them in an emergency situation. Next, the FCC will review the survey results to see how they worked. The FCC is asking cell phone companies to report if they had delays or issues.
Despite the clouds that were pushing in throughout much of the afternoon into the evening, did not stop our temperatures from soaring into the 90s here in Denver. That makes 8 days so far in September that we have been dealing with this above average heat. The season, 65 days in the 90s. Not just us up in Greeley off to the eastern plains. It was a toasty Tuesday afternoon for you too. Low 80s in Kremling through Eagle and about 75 in Grand Junction as they had a few more clouds as well as some really nice scattered showers still pushing in at the 6 o'clock hour. A lot of this tropical moisture moving in from the southwest from what once was Hurricane K. This will be impacting the metro area as we look ahead toward tomorrow afternoon. It's about 8 o'clock tomorrow. Early in the morning, we're going to be looking at just a few clouds. By the afternoon, though, I would say later afternoon into the early evening, 5, 6 o'clock. That'll be our best shot for seeing a few scattered showers, thunderstorms here in the Denver area. Temperatures will be a little cooler as this ridge of high pressure scoots off to the east. We're talking lower 80s here in the metro area tomorrow, 80s off to the plains with 50s and 60s up in the mountains. We'll keep the storms in the forecast on Thursday, but the 90-degree heat, it's back early next week.
He's an urban explorer who just wanted to see each of Denver's many parks. A unique feat finally finished.
What the hell, Jim?
It's not just our favorite slogan around here. A family of Next viewers has adopted it as their own. Next.
Republicans in Congress have blocked a bill that would protect 400,000 acres of wilderness in Colorado. Their concern is that it would stop oil and gas drilling and development there. Now, a scaled-back effort to turn part of the Continental Divide Trail in Camp Hale into a national monument is getting some more support on its own. Camp Hale is the place where the Army trained soldiers in the 10th Mountain Division for mountain warfare in World War II. Now you got 34 interest groups. You got a mix of some veterans, some military families, some environmental organizations. Sent a letter to President Biden urging him to create what would be called the Camp Hale Continental Divide National Monument, a protected place for the Camp Hale National Historic Site, the 10-mile range, and 28 miles of the Continental Divide Trail. With that bill stalled in Congress, a group including Democratic Senator Michael Bennet wants the president to act unilaterally for this national monument. Republican Senate candidate Joe O'Dea told Next he opposes that national monument designation. A cyclist in Denver wanted to ride his bike to the more than 200 parks in the city. Took about a year. He tells us he met some interesting people and learned some fascinating things along the way.
It's been a new hobby. I will probably go out, 4 or 5 times a week. My name is Jeff Dunn. This is the reason why this all started. And so I looked at it and I thought, I'm going to try to ride my bike to every park and see what happens. And as you can see, there's a lot of parks. I've been to all of them. One of the great things about Denver is you can ride your bike all 12 months out of the year. So over time, I was just able to check them off. The parks were really just a destination, but I ended up meeting people, and that really got to be the story of my quest. On Quebec and Martin Luther King at rush hour, and there's this 2 guys out juggling, so I went up when they were on a break and I talked to them. I was at a park up in Green Valley, and he was playing basketball. He was a 19-year-old kid. He's a good basketball player. I went up and challenged him to a game of horse. He told me that he grew up in New York City, and on graduation day, 3 of him and 3 other people hopped in a car and drove to Denver. I always wonder, I wonder what today is going to bring. Who am I going to meet? What's going to happen? Yeah, I'll continue to bike. There's no doubt about that.
Jeff Dunn's incredible adventure. So there's a one-liner that we all laughed at so hard. A couple of you said we needed to put it on bumper stickers or t-shirts or hats or something. We didn't. Someone else did. That and your feedback next. The most next thing we saw today is a fan of the show making his own swag. Featured the famous line from that ticked-off county commissioner unloading on the concert organizer who sold more tickets than they were allowed under the old pandemic protocols.
How many tickets have you sold so far?
A little over 6,000, 1,300 local, 1,300
6,000? Are you me? We have a 5,000 person event capacity and you've already sold more tickets than that?
Yes.
What the hell, Jim?
That was Chaffee County Commissioner Greg Felt. And this is next viewer John Snow. Apparently he loved the saying so much he had it thrown on a hat. His daughter Lynn says that what the hell, Jim's become a favorite family saying around their house. Our corner of the newsroom as well. If you've got something that good, send it our way with the hashtag HeyNext or email next@9news.com. A lot of feedback on Steve Stager's reporting tonight on the shooting involving the Clear Creek County Sheriff's deputy. I love this take from somebody who identified themselves as LeBlanc. Thank you, Steve. Your questions and report will coax competent, high-integrity candidates toward policing. What a great takeaway. Need the best of the best in an incredibly challenging job. See you next time.